So how do we get our youth back interested in it? Because it seems like it's so much confusion out here. You got this group over here want to just watch sports all day. You got this group that just want to do rap music all day. You got this group that's just sitting at home playing video games. It seems like we got so many distractions out here. How do we get our youth back interested in it? Because I had to become interested in it. I'm one of those people who got that Eurocentric history lesson in school where everything starts as slavery. Then I was one of those people that thought Africans were like Arabs. You know what I'm saying? Like I was one of those people. I just didn't know. You know what I'm saying? So how do we get them back interested in this history that's gonna, just shape them and what I'm saying, just give them that identity?
Absolutely, and I think this is a phenomenal question, by the way. In order to get the youth back interested in history, I think it should be presented in a way that engages them. So, for example, my family and I created a series. I'm not sure if you are aware of the series. It's called Mel Trek. Mel is short for melanin. Trek means journey, and so we're taking children on a journey to learn about the history, culture, and achievements of melanated people. So
Mhm.
it's an animation. It's an animated series, and so it's like, in a matter of fact, it's a hip hop animated series. So we're using animations and hip hop music to tell
Mhm.
our story. And so now our history is presented in a way that's fun, that's captivating, that's entertaining. And so in order to get our youth involved in history, or interested in learning history, again, it first has to be presented to them in a way that's fun. It has to be edutaining, right? Educate, educational and entertaining. And so presentation is a must. Representation is a must, right? So it should be centered on us. So if you want to teach, so for example, you said when you learned our history, they started it with slavery, but then you learned about all of these white folks. And so it needs to be centered around us, right? That history. So
Mhm.
when history is taught to our babies, we should be at the center of it. And two, it should be presented in a way that is educational and entertaining. I also feel history should also be taught in the home. So within your household, your parents, your village, the village should emphasize, the importance of knowing history and teach history in the household. Everything starts in the household. Also, our children should be attending institutions that teach our history. So a lot of our children, they tend to attend the public school system,
Right.
but we need to start building more African centered institutions. Salute to people like Baba Amin and his wife in Koyo. And also people like Brother Marcus Klein in Chicago with the Freedom Home Academy, Mama Baruti, I'm sorry, Mama and Mama Ya and Walimu Baruti down in Atlanta with Akabin House. And so, but we need more of them, right? There should be an African centered educational institution wherever Black children are, wherever we are. There should be an institution. And so, four ways to get us involved. Four ways, and I know I kind of went through them, but one, you said, how do we get the youth uh, involved in history? Well, one, the history must center us. We should be at the center of the history. Two, it should be presented in a way, right, in a way that's educational and entertaining. Three, it should be taught in the home. Okay, it should be taught in the village, and the importance of knowing history should be reinforced and reiterated in the village. And four, our children should be attending institutions that teach our history from our perspective.
Great answer. Great answer. One thing you said about it starting at the home. We all know that there's a lot of broken homes out here, single parent homes out here, whether it be mother or father. Sometimes you have the children being raised by the grandparent. How do we bring that nucleus back together? How do we get that mother father relationship to work, and then they reproduce, have children, and everyone stays together as a unit? It's too many times. I came from that situation where my father wasn't in the household, and this is something that just keeps on being
Same
repetitive,
here. Same
repetitive.
here.
Exactly. So how do we, how do we keep it together? Is it, what's going on where we can't stay a family unit?
How, I mean, there's so many forces that have literally
Yeah.
dissipated the black family. I mean, slavery dissipated the black family, even though people will say, according to the census report, black families stayed together all the way up until the 1980s. And so, people say that and say we survived, black families survived, slavery, but it wasn't until like the 1980s or 1970s when they
Hmm.
brought in welfare. And remember, the program said that you can't have a man in the house, and he started giving black women checks, and then before you know it, so people will credit, the welfare with the destruction of the family. But I agree with Minister Farrakhan when he said that slavery broke up the family. So even though we may have been on the plantation together, right, and say, oh, this is, but then think about it, it was always, I'm worried about you getting sold, you're worried about me getting sold. Sometimes we did get sold, and then our children got sold, and you had a lot, and that happened, a lot of times. If they did, if the man did something to anger, the master, then he was sold, or the wife was sold, or the husband was killed, the woman was killed, the babies were taken. And so slavery broke up the black family. Let's be clear here.
Hmm.
Okay. And so did we try to get our families back? Yeah, we tried, but we've always been under duress. The black family has always been under duress, whether it was slavery, whether it was Jim Crow, the Black Code laws. I mean, it was always something. And so anyway, just going back to your initial question, you said, how can we do this? Brother, we need to heal.
Right.
We need, brother, we need to heal. We need to heal. We need to heal. It's no way that we can have healthy relationships with each other. You and me have a healthy relationship unless I heal from my trauma and
Hmm.
you heal from your trauma. Because I just want to have a candid moment with you, a transparent moment with you. So uh, my parents were married in 1970,
Okay.
and they had my brother. As a matter of fact, that's why they got married. It was like one of those shotgun weddings. My father told me that when my mother found out she was pregnant, my mom was 18, and I think he was like 22 or something like that. And when my grandmother found out that she was pregnant, my grandmother called my father on the phone, and she said, "Well, what are you going to do? When is the wedding? And so she wasn't really asking him. She was telling him, right? Like, okay, you done knocked up my daughter, and this is me
Right.
talking, right? You done knocked up my child, right? When's the wedding? And so anyway, they end up getting married when my mother was 18. And they end up divorcing. They stayed together for about 11 years. And a matter of fact, the year that I was born, they were separating. So she had me, and then they were separating. And so, as a kid, you don't really understand why your parents aren't together. It's kind of like I'm going through school, and I'm looking at other children, and their mom and dad are together, and I'm like, wow, why is my mom and dad not together? And I did feel some type of way.
Hmm.
But then when I got older and I began to learn my mother's story, learn my father's story, I said, wow, these were two broken people, two wounded people, two hurt people who got together and said, I want to be a family, or let's get married, let's have children. But when you enter into a relationship, you bring all of your baggage with you. All of your trauma comes with you, and that trauma acts out in the relationship. And then so before you know it, the relationship will deteriorate, right? And
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
and so if we want to erect or to establish healthy families, then we have to be healthy mentally, spiritually, emotionally, okay, physically. And so the first thing I would say is that we need to be healed. How do you go? Somebody might say, Dr. Maya, how do you heal yourself?
All right.
I believe in therapy. I am a huge proponent of therapy, but not any therapist, an
Hmm.
African centered therapist, or an African centered psychologist, or an African centered psychiatrist. Okay, so a psychiatrist, a psychologist, and a therapist. We need healing. And if there is a family right now who's listening to me, and they're in need, they're going through some things, go to family counseling, go to individual counseling. But counseling is a must. I think that should be. I think that an African centered health clinic should be on in
Mm,
every Black community across the nation. We are very damaged people. We've experienced a whole lot of trauma that we haven't healed from, and modern science today is saying that trauma is passed down in our DNA. Look it up,
mm,
epigenetics. It's
mhm,
passed down. And so, literally, we are a trauma people. We are a traumatized people. I'm sorry. And so, we need to heal. So, before people jump into relationships, we need to heal ourselves. Okay. We need to heal from the childhood trauma that, the mommy issues, the daddy issues, right? We need to heal from that before we get into a relationship. And then, brother, I do want to say this. We need to, as a culture, right, as a collective, um, define what does a healthy relationship look like. What
mm,
does that look like for us? You know, is it the nuclear family? If so, what are the roles? Like we really need to sit down as a collective and just define that and stop using other people's ideas. A lot of us, I know some people may get mad with me for saying this, but a lot of us look to white folks as relationship models. And we say that this is how we get a lot of our definitions from white people. And so I talk about this a lot in interviews. We need to exercise Kujichagulia. That's the second principle of Kwanzaa, okay, which says self-determination. We need to become a self-determining people, and in doing so, define for ourselves. So, what does a healthy relationship look like? Okay. And then once we heal ourselves, we establish what it looks like, we define it. Okay. Then we have a model. We begin to be models of that healthy relationship. And that could be a model that our children now see and aspire to have.